Good Timber by Douglas Malloch, 1877 to 1938. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease, the stronger wind, the stronger trees. The further sky, the greater length, the more the storm, the more the strength. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men good timbers grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life. Okay, this poem was by Douglas Malloch. He was an American from Michigan, and he grew up in the places in the forests where they cut timber. He grew up with the lumbermen. Now notice, timber is a word for wood, is for trees that are to be cut down, and he was known as the lumberman's poet. I think he edited the American Lumberman, which was a magazine for lumberjacks. Okay, so good timber, good wood, good trees. Timber is talking about trees for commercial purposes, yeah, that have been cut to use in building and things like that, or to make boats. So what's the idea? Well, this is a parallel between what makes a good tree, a big, strong, massive tree, and what makes a good human. And the whole poem is a parallel. And the poem is saying that a tree that has to compete with all of the other trees for light and air and water will grow big and strong, whereas a tree that has it easy and doesn't have a difficult life will never be a great tree. And this is saying that people who have to fight for their existence, who have problems in life and have to overcome problems, this is what really makes character and makes the best personalities and the best people. So, the tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light. So a tree that never needed to compete for sunshine, for sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its share of rain. So it stood out in the open and it didn't have anybody round it to compete with it. And it always got the amount of rain that it needed. I think if it has to compete, its roots grow deeper. Never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. So this tree out on its own with no competitors, it never becomes one of these massive, strong, huge forest trees, but it lives and dies a small and unimpressive tree. It's scrubby. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil. So now he's drawing a parallel with men, and this whole poem is a metaphor between trees and men, and what makes a good tree and what makes a good man. So he's saying somebody who never has to work hard to gain and farm his patch of soil, so who had to really work hard to get control of his piece of land and then to farm his patch, his area of soil, of earth, who never had to win his share of sun and light and sky and air. So this is talking about somebody who never had to struggle in life, who had everything given to them, who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth and everything was easy for them. Never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. So this never becomes a big, strong, I think here, moral person, but lived and died as he began. Well, when you begin, you're a child or an infant. So it was always a bit infantile and never learned to grow up. Yeah, and the act of struggling is something that helps us to grow up, to become adults and to become big, strong people who can deal with any problem. Good timber does not grow with ease. So good tree wood, good trees don't grow easily. It's not easy. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. So the more wind there is, the stronger the tree is, because it needs to compete with this wind. And this here is the same parallel with humans. The more problems, the stronger the person who can overcome them. The further sky, the greater length. So the more distant the sky is from them, because there are other trees around them, then the tree grows taller, and so the human grows as well. The more the storm, the more the strength. So the more difficult the situation for the tree, the bigger the storms, the stronger the tree gets, and the wood is very strong. And he's paralleling this with humans. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men good timbers grow. So when things are good or when things are bad, when it's raining or when it's snowing, a good tree needs all types of weather. And a good man, exactly the same, a good human. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both. So in the thickest part of the forest, where there is the most competition from trees, then we find the patriarchs of the forest, the father, the huge, enormous tree that's the biggest tree in the forest. That's where we find it, where there is the most competition. And here, of both men and trees. And they hold counsel with the stars. So these are huge, tall trees, and they are important enough to ask the star what the stars think. So they are completely in sync with nature, whose broken branches show the scars of many wind and much of strife. So these trees have broken branches. Yeah, and these are the scars. When you cut yourself, if you have a bad cut, afterwards you get a scar which could last for many years. And broken branches show the wounds of many winds, of very strong winds, and much of strife and many problems. Strife is discord and problems and arguments. And again, this is the same for men and for trees. This is the common law of life. And he says this is this law, that the hotter the fire, the stronger, the better the result. The more difficulties you go through and survive, then this is better for your character. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Good Timber by Douglas Malloch.